It's the Wake Up Call with Ed and Paul, the podcast about stories in business and in life with your hosts Ed Fox and Paul Odendahl.
Just make it freaking simple. So if you make it simple how they can get the clothing to you and what the purpose and goal is.
Well, and that's what I do. I give it, here's my purpose and goal. Here's my credibility, because to me, that's important. And it's not my credibility. It's just, these suits are not getting chopped. Like we're going, this is where it's going to. And, same thing with boxes, that's coming up. And same thing with the equine therapy stuff I'm doing. I mean, you just get it out there and people are like, oh, I want to help. I want to help. I mean, boxes for soldiers, we've been doing it now 4 years. We missed last year. And Kendall has more people than she knows what to do with. I mean, we have Unify gave us a pallet of food. We have people donating money. We have people coming out of the frickin' woodwork to help us. And Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Kiwanis said, hey, this is a year of the veteran. I'm like, awesome. I have a job for you. And, these people want to help. And you're right. If you keep it simple, and so they say, okay, show up on this day, you're going to pack some boxes, bring some comfortable shoes. I need suits delivered to my office. If you can't, here's a mailing address. We'll mail them right to Save a Suit. And here's what we do with them. And you're right. If you complicate it or become too corporate or bureaucratic, people get turned off. And that's why I go through my spiel. And that's where the credibility is. Not for me personally, but for, this is where they're going. I always tell the whole story because I have to look. I've looked widows, Vietnam veteran widows, in the eye, and said, "Yes, this suit will end up on a veteran's back," and I have to make sure that happens. That's my obligation to them. So,
well, Ed, as you finish chewing, Rob.
Hello, Ed. Nice to meet you.
And this is the prayer that I went and put my red, white, and blue Patriotic shirt on. And the prayer was that Rob would come on. There's plenty of insurance that he could speak about because he's highly respected in our industry, in the insurance industry. But what he's doing for veterans, and he has a veteran background. I mean, I would like him to speak a little bit about the insurance, but very little, and more about the background. And then Ed, of course, will do his part of trying to disrupt the entire show, which he's good at.
Everyone needs one of those, Ed.
Oh, and Ed, Rob, what animal is always at a baseball game?
What animal is always at a baseball game?
There's a reason for this, because Ed is the author of multiple dad jokes.
Oh, this sounds so much like a dad joke.
This is a dad joke. This is absolutely a dad joke.
Where my kids will roll their eyes, or as what animal is always at a baseball
always at a baseball game?
A bat.
There you go. See?
Oh, that's bad.
See?
That's bad.
God. Our guest is too damn smart for our show, Ed. We got to get him.
I'm too stupid to come up with that answer. That's the problem.
I got Fuzzy Bear will help us out right here.
Waka waka.
Here we go.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Ed, which part of the world are you from? I can hear a pretty good accent there.
Bowling Green, Kentucky.
No, you're not.
That's where he is now.
That's where I'm currently at.
Okay.
Born and raised in Australia.
Okay.
Like most Aussies, walk around with my crikey. That's not a knife. This is a knife.
Yep. Very good.
Yeah.
Great movie. Yep.
And if that doesn't work, I can always prove it with my cricket bat. Now, you won't find one of these bats at a baseball game.
That's true.
That's true. It's a great. I watched it one time because a friend of mine loves cricket. He came from India, and I kind of got the basics, and I was like, this is a really cool sport.
So
didn't understand 90% of it, but
there's another dad joke for Ed. What two animals are always at a cricket game? A cricket bat.
A cricket bat. That's actually not bad, Paul. I think that will go in my
there you go.
Third joke book.
Put it in your third joke book. I'm not writing any books.
Rob, I've written two. Well, I haven't. I've compiled the jokes. I didn't write the jokes. I've compiled 2 joke books of dad jokes called 101 Grown-tastic Dad Jokes and 101 More Grown-tastic Dad Jokes, Volume 2. And my son goes, doesn't that belong in the redundancy of redundant department or something? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it does. He says, what are you going to call book 3? I said 101 more dad jokes, volume 3.
Yep. And you're going to keep doing, and then volume 4, you keep going until, till your life changes. I mean, that's how this works.
That's
right.
Exactly.
4 will be more wrist.
So,
all right, get your recording going there, big guy.
I've got it recorded. I wanted to take a second here and really explain cricket.
Do you really think our viewers are interested in learning about cricket?
Yeah. Okay. So this is my explanation of cricket, and you should be very appreciative of the trouble I'm going to explain cricket to you in under 2 minutes.
Volume 1.
I'm going to explain cricket to you in 2 minutes.
Volume 1.
You have 2 sides, one out in the field and one in. Each man that's in the side that's in goes out, and when he's out, he comes in, and the next man goes in until he's out. They're all out. The side that's out comes in, and the side that's been in goes out and tries to get those coming in out. Sometimes you get men still in and not out. When both sides have been in and out, including the not outs, that's the end of the game.
Wow.
Isn't that helpful?
Again, for our guests and our viewers, this is why I consume alcohol in our wake-up call with Ed and Paul cup during the show. That's the only time I drink alcohol is during the show. Otherwise, I don't drink alcohol. But during the show, you need alcohol.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't be
Where's
on a
your
show
cup?
with an Aussie.
Where's your cup? Where's your cup?
My cup is emptieth.
No,
that's not good.
Liquid refreshment.
No, either the right-handed cup or the right-handed cup or the left-handed cup. I built it for both. Whether you're on the right side of the political fence or the left side of the political fence, I've built it for you. Anyway, let me introduce.
All right, let's do an introduction. Let's get to our guest.
Like one of those shows, you get 15 minutes into it and it's been pretty good, and then they do the introduction, and then it all drops off after that. So,
which show is that?
G'day, listeners and viewers. It's Ed Fox and Paul Odendahl with the Wake Up Call with Ed and Paul, and our special guest today, Mr. Rob Bowen. G'day, Rob.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Any better, and I'd probably hire you both to help me enjoy it.
I like that.
Like that. That's good.
That's very good.
That's a zig, Zig Ziglar. So, hey, Rob. So Paul says you're a good guy, and Paul's normally got pretty good taste. He thinks I'm a good guy as well. So
no, you got the wrong cup. No, you're drinking from the wrong cup. So your good guy status went out the window.
I'm keeping this one clean.
Oh, I keep forgetting. You got to keep that perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It holds my water bottle.
All right, let's let Rob speak. Let's not have Paul interrupt him.
So, Rob, as a way of introduction, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, quick background. I spent 8 years in the military. Went down to Wall Street for about 13 years. Did that. 2008 happened. The world in the U.S. collapsed with the mortgage crisis, and I kind of started working closer to home. Had always been around insurance, but never done retail. And when I turned 50, 7 years ago, I decided I wanted to be an insurance agent and open up an insurance agency. So been doing that for about 7 years. Love it. Love what I do. Love, helping people, love explaining things to people. I've met some amazing people, and, it's a great business. We found out it's pandemic proof because of that recurring revenue stream that we get. But it did, COVID did change how we do business, which I think is a good thing overall. And in doing what I do as an insurance agent, due to being a veteran, I saw a lot of veterans homeless, a lot of veterans committing suicide, a lot of veterans just having trouble with the transition. I was probably fortunate. I mean, there was no transition program for me. It was like, hey, have a nice day. There's a civilian world and go. I had people around me that told me what suit to buy, what to wear. I went, being on Wall Street back in the mid 90s, it was, dark suit, white shirt, red tie. That was it. That was the uniform. I'd been told what to wear for 8 years. So it made it easy for me. That's all I bought, and off I went. today's world's very different. So one of the things I do is I collect suits. It's called Suits for Soldiers in my office. It's really about interview clothes, and it's men and women. I always want to make that clear. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, what about women?" I'm like, there are many women serving right now in our military. And what the organization is called Save a Suit. What they do pre-COVID was job fairs. So they dress these veterans for success. They do have a tailor that custom fits the suits. They will do a job fair with the Department of Labor, with a big company, however they're doing it. And what we try to do is get a bunch of veterans in a room, get them dressed correctly, and we bring in other resources. So once we dress all the veterans for appropriately for these interviews, we try to bring in other resources to them. We could bring in a LinkedIn specialist, we could bring in a resume writer, we could bring in whoever that may be. And honestly, the ulterior motive is we bring in mental health experts. We don't say anything, right? We just bring them in, they let them look around. One of the biggest concerns right now in the military world is 22 veterans are committing suicide every day.
Goodness.
One is unacceptable to me.
Right.
And I think that number's higher. COVID didn't help us. But we can connect these veterans. The biggest struggle as a veteran is there's so many resources, there's so many not-for-profits, but you don't know where they are. So I'm in a couple different task force in the Hudson Valley. We connect veterans to resources and try to make sure they know what's out there for them. So Suits for Soldiers, we started about 5 years ago. I don't know what the number is now, but I'm gonna guess it's in the 15,000 realm.
Right.
About every 3 months, they fill my back office. It becomes a fire hazard, and they come pick it up, and they do all the tailoring. They do all the hard work. Save a Suit does. I just collect. I just met the owner who runs it on LinkedIn and was like, "Hey, I'm collecting suits. I need a distribution source." And he's like, "I'll take them." And there we go. So
Cool.
social media worked well.
So if somebody listening to this or watching us on YouTube or Facebook wants to get you suits, what's the easiest way for them to connect with you?
The easiest way, you can connect with me on Facebook, Rob Bowen. You also LinkedIn works, and you can message me there. My email is rob@insuranceleadership.com. And my office number is 845-610-5700. If you're close to me, you can bring them in. If not, I can talk to you about what you got, and you can mail them directly to Save a Suit, which is in Bethel, Connecticut.
And where are you at, Rob?
My office is in Chester, New York.
Okay, so if they're in the Chester, New York area or can get to you pretty easily, they can bring it to you. And
Yes,
if not,
please.
they can mail it directly to and the Save a Suit is a nonprofit.
It is a nonprofit. I'm not a not-for-profit. I always like to tell people that, but I have a sheet. If someone wants to use this as a tax deduction, I can give them Save a Suit. So Save a Suit's the 501c3, not me. I just happened to start collecting 5 years ago, and I found Save a Suit, thank God. So I had a place to send these things.
Sure, and that's great. To me, it's amazing the opportunities that are coming up for veterans, and we're doing a better job. I had an uncle that was Korean War vet. He always told me, he says, "I want to slap you up the side of the head, dude. I can't because these are registered as lethal weapons with the government." I don't know if it was true or not, but it sure pulled me into line. I can tell you that, because he talked about being a scout in the Korean War and that all the unarmed combat he had, and he's like, but he had no help, right? So I saw him deal with some demons that there was no support back in the day in the early mid 70s, and so I love the fact of what we're doing. One of the things I also like to see is one of the businesses I own is a business-to-business barter exchange, and we're seeing the CEO of that company go out of her way to try and bring vets in as franchisees. And so there's a lot of opportunities for franchisees, franchise ownership for vets, and they bring such great discipline in most cases to the company that's really helpful.
Yep. If you could connect me to her, I can help her. I can connect her with a veteran. There's a woman in South Carolina who runs, it's called Veterans Ascend, that she basically connects businesses with veterans.
Okay.
via a database that kind of, as I joke, I mean, I'm a Navy guy.
Sure.
I flew off of carriers. How do you relate that to business? You can't. Army guys blow stuff up. Well, great. How do you? So she has an internet site that kind of connects what we did in the military to civilian world, and the companies pay for it. So they say, I want to hire 100 veterans. Well, okay, come on the site, and you're going to have access to all these veteran resumes, and you can pick and choose based on what they did and what you're looking for. I mean, if you need a technical skill, it's probably there. But I agree with you. I mean, what the veterans, and I joke about this somewhat, but especially with the younger veterans, that they're going to show up on time. They're going to know how to dress. I mean, that sounds crazy, but in today's world, that's hard. I mean, I've been trying to hire people for the last 2 years, and it's really, really difficult. I mean, COVID didn't help, but that discipline to know, I mean, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. That was beaten into me. So that's the way I still am.
Right.
Much to my kids' chagrin. But even my father-in-law, who's 84 years old, he's the same way. We know he's going to show up 15 minutes early. He hasn't been in the military since the 50s, for God's sakes.
Right. Yep.
So Rob,
Yep.
not only sharing with Ed that information, or Ed sharing with Rob, really need to share with our viewers when we gather the information, when we post this podcast, is the information on where veterans, there's going to be a lot of veterans that are going to be watching this podcast that are looking for opportunities. Mm-hmm. So where the veterans would send this resume or send this information to this database, to this national database, where they can have an opportunity for employment.
Right.
Because I speak to a lot of veterans that's their major concern, is finding employment when they come back from deployment.
It's tough. And there, I will send you all the links. It's called Veterans Ascend, run by Robin Grable. But there's also, I mean, I can send the link of Save a Suit. A veteran can go online and request a suit. They're going to be asked a couple questions. What size are you? They're doing virtual tailoring now, and they're trying to. Scott, who runs it, is trying to spread this around the entire United States. I mean, there's organizations that do similar things to Save a Suit, and that's okay. We're not competitors. We're all trying to help each other. But it's about connecting the right people to the right resources, and that's the struggle we all go through.
And with that being said, the second biggest concern that I hear, first biggest concern I often hear from vets, and I speak to a lot of vets myself, is employment. Mm-hmm. The second biggest concern, which you brought up, and I hope that you have a connection for that. I know you have a direct connection for Save a Suit, but the mental health issue.
Yes.
So connections for them in the mental health field are the second biggest concern.
Yeah, and that's a good segue into one of the other things that I'm doing is the biggest problem with veterans, and I'm one of them, is, Rob, how you doing? I'm fine. Right? And most of the veterans, especially the older guys, let's call it Vietnam, who are in their 70s and 80s, and even Desert Storm. I mean, I'm 57. I was Desert Shield. That's kind of my background. And we were taught, you're fine. And so it's, veterans don't ask for help. That's the problem. It's getting better. We now have a name for it. We used to call it shell shock, right? You're talking about your uncle in the Korean War. It's called being shell shocked, right? But they didn't offer help. They just said, "Oh, you're shell shocked. Come on back for a couple of days, get a little R&R, and go back. You'll be fine." So at least now we have a name for it. We have PTSD. And one of the other things that I've seen, and the reason I jumped on this board, is we started an organization in June called Victory Hill out of Greenville, New York. A woman had worked at Gate, which was another equine therapy center, got laid off, and she has a farm, so she wanted to start it, and she asked me to be on her board. So I said, great, I'll help. I don't know anything about horses, but I'll help you. And we've done very well. So we are helping children.
Question: when you say you've done very well, what you mean is you've been able to help people.
100%. Yes. Right. Yeah. I'm not talking financially very well. Right. I'm talking, So what we have set up is we work with children with autism. We work with first responders. That's why we started in June, with the chaos that was going on, and veterans with PTSD. And what we have is scholarship funds. So the cost is $150. and a veteran walks in, we want to pay for we want to make sure the veteran can get it for free if needed. So we have scholarship funds that can feed it. So we're applying for grants. New York State is somewhat involved. There's a lot of not-for-profits that want to donate to this. And what I love is there's no drugs, right? The solution that was, but pretty much was out there is you make these kids zombies. And there might be time that's appropriate. I'm not a doctor nor my mental health professional. I'm not going to question, but if you can do a 60 to 70%, and it's not a cure, right? It's the wrong term as cure. It's just slowing the brain down and slowing the demons down. That's what you're doing. If you can do that and teach a veteran to, when he feels it coming or when he gets triggered, to, without drugs, just kind of slow the brain down, slow everything down, he now can live a normal life. He might have episodes, right? But he knows how to deal with it. And the people around him know how to deal with it. So equine therapy is amazing. I was pulled in, I met a young Marine who, in his words, I was a complete a-hole. I was getting drunk and fighting cops. Not a good career move, right? That's not going to get you very far.
Right.
And equine therapy saved him. His words again. He's now back with his 2 boys, and he works at the equine therapy center. And I joke every day. I'm like, if you want a clean stall, hire a Marine. I mean, I was Marine Corps trained, and I can clean anything with a toothbrush. These stalls you could eat off this floor. He became like the manager of the stall. It's a small little, barn, but he was in charge of that. So he had a sense of purpose, right? That's your sense of purpose. He had some place to go to every day. He had responsibility. He always showed up on time. He always worked late. All this military things. And it's a win-win for everybody.
You
right?
raise a good point there. And something that I hadn't thought of is you see all those movies and TV shows and stuff about how the corners of the bed are perfect and the latrines are cleaned with the toothbrushes and all that stuff. And the fastest growing business franchise-wise in America is cleaning companies, because your overhead is low and your profit margin is high. Think about what Marines or any service that's been taught that stuff could do with a cleaning business, and just think about the marketing that goes with that.
It's phenomenal. And I when I went through boot camp, we would iron our sheets. Right, I was using starch and ironing. I didn't sleep in my rack. I slept in my rack one night a week. We called it Hojo night, when we had to turn the sheets in once a week. Other than that, my bed was perfect. I mean, the corners, it was ironed. And I slept under the bed because I didn't want to mess the bed up, because the garbage cans start at 4:30. You don't have time to, we all had watches. I mean, I'd say they're illegal, but we had alarm clocks in our rooms. We had 4 men in a room, and we get an alarm clock to go off quietly, because you didn't want the drill instructor to hear it, because then you're going to get, you're going to get killed.
Right.
But typically you had to get up, get dressed, and you had 5 minutes to get outside to, go get PT'd to death. So yeah, you didn't have time to make your rack, and once you got it perfect, you kept it. And we slept. I slept under my rack. I mean, that's what we did. But that's the same thing. I mean, those barracks where we lived in were, spotless, and they were shiny. I mean, you could shave on the floor. I mean, because they had labor, right? We were the labor. For 2 hours, we'd clean the barracks.
Right. Yeah.
No,
exactly.
I like that idea, Ed. That's a great idea. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I'm a big. My brain's always going about business ideas, and Paul and I talk business all the time, and that's what our call is basically about, is business ideas and the successes we've had and the mistakes we've made. Now, that happens also for nonprofits and for other organizations outside of businesses as well. But that stuff's good stuff, and if veterans looked at that, and especially if they had they felt that that's something that they could grow, I think that would be an awesome thing, because every city can use more cleaning companies. Nobody's got the time to clean anymore. So
I would agree. And one of the areas I'm working with is I've met a lot of guys that are either franchise consultants or run their own franchises, and they're pulling largely from the veteran area. Now,
absolutely,
only 1% of the population is a veteran, so it's a small part. And I always like to say, not every veteran's a great person. I mean, we're going to have our
sure.
issues, but in general, you can stereotype us, and that's fine. That, franchise owners, veterans tend to do very well as franchise owners. We're working with large, they make these hydroponic trailers where you can grow fruits and vegetables all year round because it's temperature controlled.
Right.
It's perfect for a veteran because if a veteran has PTSD, you'll always see the veteran with his back against the wall. He always wants to know what's in front of him. That's just the way this works. And in that environment, he can shut the door and he's safe. And he can work for 4 or 5 hours, calm, and they can grow vegetables. And we're working a group of people that I'm kind of supporting to a certain, they're doing all the hard work, is, growing those fruits and vegetables and selling them to ShopRite, who's a huge veteran.
Right.
They love the veterans. So, there are ways to be creative here. But it's about, for me, it's about giving the veteran a chance. Let them try. They mess up. You have ways to deal with it, but give them a shot and you would be surprised. I mean, I would hire veterans all day. I mean, I talk to veterans all the time.
The things you said, Rob, about the fact that's a constant issue. I've got 9 different business entities that I'm involved with, and trying to find people, hire people, and keep people. I was just talking to Paul this morning about people that we've had to let go in the past, and just showing up on time, which you and I both know 10 minutes early is on time. On time is late, and late is dead. That was our band teacher's rules for my kids growing up. There's something to be said for the countries that send their kids out of high school off to the military for 2 years, right? There's something to be said for that.
Oh, I can jump on that bandwagon. I am a believer. I get a lot of pushback for this, but I'm a believer in, I think we should have mandatory military service. But I always like to explain that. A lot of people think of the military, we just blow things up and shoot guns and all that. No, the military has mechanics, cooks. I mean, a Navy is a floating city.
Engineers.
Engineers.
Well, you look at a lot of the levee systems and a lot of the different infrastructure systems, and there'll always be a little note that says Army Corps of Engineers.
100%.
They're involved in so many different things that we have no clue about.
Yep. Well, and even when they're, I'll use my experience. I was on an aircraft carrier. It's 4,500 guys. We had doctors, we had nurses, we were a self-supporting city. So if
how
you
long
join
can you guys run without coming into port?
Forever, basically.
Catch your own food if you ran out of food.
Well, we would run out of food. Food's the weakest link. When I was in, we were diesel boats. So now they're all nuclear reactors, so they have plenty of power. So about every 4 days, we'd have a tanker roll up next to us and pump in, God only knows, a couple 100,000 gallons. And then we needed fuel for the planes. But those, the deployments are going longer and longer. But there's a whole support, again, that there's a lot of different jobs in the Navy. I'll just talk what I know. You got to be on that support ship.
Right.
You've got to, we have C2s that would fly out, but they don't have a lot of cargo room. So we would do an unrep. We'd put 2 ships next to each other and have a helicopter go back and forth for literally 8 hours with pallets. Right. And that would bring enough food, because think about trying to feed 4,500 people 4 meals a day.
Right.
That's a lot of food. Now the food's not great, but you're trying to get calories. It's not fine dining.
Right. Well, hey, Rob.
Ed, I'm very interested, as I listen to our own call, in the collaboration of thought of putting veterans together in work opportunities, because that's their number one concern. And you brought up a good idea. Rob has brought up some good thoughts. The 2 of you sharing the thoughts. This is a great opportunity for us. And I think the consumer, or the person they're working for, the customer, whoever they're working for, I think more, maybe I just think for myself and my wife, we really respect what Rob has done and the service that he's given. And there is a growing segment of our society that is more appreciative of what veterans do. I think they understand more, they're more appreciative. And I think that if I was hiring somebody, especially cleaning service that you just brought up, cleaning service can be very personal to things in your business or even your personal home. So hiring a vet, I think, would be somebody I'd be even more comfortable with, not just because of on time and doing such a great job of cleaning, but somebody I felt that I could trust even more from the service that he's given. So, and Rob brought up, not all vets are going to be the same. Not all of a society is going to be good, but I would think hiring a vet, and we need to streamline and simplify, like we talked about earlier, where vets can get opportunities, because your example is a great example.
I think a lot of vets have been taught leadership capability. Even enlisted men have been taught leadership capability, and some of them have a leg up over those of us that have never served in that leadership capacity. Now, some don't. Just, we can't tar everybody with the same brush. But I think leadership and I think business ownership is the key to getting this country back on its feet. And business ownership by vets, to me, is something that we should all be pushing. And I think if you're an employer out there, you need to be looking at vets because they will show up. They will keep working. Hey guys, we are out of time. I could keep talking to you for another hour, Rob. Please come back and join us at a later point in time.
I would love to. Thank you, Ed. It was a pleasure meeting you, Paul. It was great to see you again, and thank you for what you guys do. And I thank you for the platform I had today.
And thank you too, Rob. We appreciate you. And please send us an email with all the information that our listeners and viewers could reach out to you with.
I certainly will do that. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Well, that's it for this edition of the Wake Up Call with Ed and Paul. Thanks for listening. As always, we appreciate it. And if you'd like to subscribe, you can do that on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube. Thanks a lot and have a great day.